What's up guys, Louis here. Today we're going to go on a bit of a journey in this video. I'm going to be talking about a system that I started using that I found from a book by Tiago Forte. The book is called How to Build a Second Brain. Now, bear with me. I'm going to tie this all into real estate and how you can use this in your business, but I need to explain the theory of it, actually how this works, and then we'll jump into how you can use it and how I use it for my business. Now, before we do that, as always, subscribe to the channel if you can. I would love the support. Hit the notification bell, do all that stuff. That would be great. So let's talk about this, guys. What is a second brain? Well, the concept behind this is really perfect for someone like me, who's a bit of a space cadet, who is always on the go, who's always agreeing to do things, but then I forget them, right? I forget things all the time. This might be, I'm in the grocery store and, I'm on the phone with like a client or someone, they're like, hey, can you do this, and then I hang up, and then, like 2 minutes later, it's just left my brain. It's not like I didn't do it on purpose. It's nothing like malicious. It just left my brain. It just didn't stay there. And now I've forgotten. Now 2 hours later, that client texts you and is like, hey, did you do this? And I'm like, oh, I totally forgot on that. And now, instead of having a peaceful evening with my family, I'm having to like regroup and try and figure out, I need to do this task. I need to run these comps for this client. Oh my gosh. And now it's a big old disaster. Tell me you feel that pain. It's not just me. Surely it's not just me. You must have this too, or someone out there. But the concept behind this, right, is that your brain is made for creation, not for storage. And, if you think about the journey we've been on in the last, couple of decades here, just with the technology boom that we've had, in the previous generation, like my parents' generation, the baby boomers, think about the inputs that they had, the sensory inputs into their life. Where were they getting their news from? Like newspapers, and maybe at that point they had, the TV for newscasting, right? So really, like the information that they got was just from a couple of sources: newspapers, maybe a little bit of TV, mostly peer groups, right? Conversations. And the brain at that point wasn't taking in as much information, and it was able to store it more and use it and regurgitate it because it wasn't pulled in so many different directions. Now, fast forward, we're about to go into 2023 here, and it's chaos. You think about the amount of inputs that you have on a daily basis, not even on a daily basis, every hour, every minute. It's wild. We have everything going on: social media, YouTube, you have podcasts, you have, TV, media, like everything is just blasting into your brain to the point where at the time when you wake up, your brain's starting to make thousands of decisions already based on the things that you're consuming. So our brains haven't evolved from 2 decades ago to store that much more capacity, but we are, expected to take all that in and do things useful with it. And it's just not the case. We can't do it. So what's the solution here? Well, the solution is building a second brain. And what this entails is taking information in, but only keeping the things that resonate. And that's the key here. We are so overloaded with information on everything. You just need to pick out the little things here and there throughout the day that resonate and put them down, okay? Because again, our brain can't remember. It just can't take all that stuff and regurgitate it unless you have a special computer brain. I don't. I'm a space cadet. You guys know this. So let's take every other, scenario out of the equation. We're not talking about family right now. We're not talking about, workouts, gym, like social events or whatever. We're just talking about your business. So think about, for your business in real estate, all of the overloading things that come in during the day, all your emails, all the phone calls, all the conversations you're having, all the ideas you have, all the tasks you have to do. It becomes so overwhelming that unless you have some kind of structure to delegate all these thoughts and tasks out of your brain and on to either paper or notes or wherever, then it's just going to be impossible to manage. So let's dive into this, guys. I'm going to show you exactly what Tiago teaches inside of his book, which I would fully recommend that you check out if you're interested in this. And I'm going to show you how I operate everything that comes into my head and get it to the little buckets that it needs to go. So the way I work this, guys, is I start out with a notes app, okay? It can be any app you want on any kind of phone, as long as you can have multiple notes in there. That's the only thing you're going to need for this process, okay? So today we're just going to look at Apple Notes, okay? Because it's very simple, very easy to use. If you have an iPhone, you have it built in already. So from here, we're going to build out 7 separate notes. The first one that you build out is called Quick Capture. And Quick Capture is just the brain dump for anything and everything to just go into. If something hits you and you have a thought that you're like, oh, I should keep that thought, throw it into Quick Capture. You don't have to do anything else with it at that point. Just throw it down and you're done, okay? Walk away from it. If a task comes to you like, oh, I need to remember to do that, boom, put it in Quick Capture. If you're walking along the street and you're walking your dogs and all of a sudden you have a crazy idea like, oh man, I could build this thing out, it would be awesome for my clients. Write it down, because if we keep walking the dog and go all the way around the park and all the way back to the house, the thing that you were thinking of is either going to leave your mind, or it's not going to be as potent with all the amazing things that you were thinking about. So it's so important, guys, just to dump things into Quick Capture. Okay, the next note you're going to make is tasks. And tasks is very, very simple and straightforward. Any actions or to-dos that you need to take now or in the future. Note number 3 is projects. This is anything big that I'm trying to do in the future as a project, and it should have a date and a deadline. The next one is areas. This is anything that's important to me that doesn't have a date or a deadline. So this could be like, family stuff or whatever that doesn't have an immediate deadline that I have to hit. Next up is resources. So anything I just want to hold on to for the future. Could be quotes from a book, could be, something that I saw and I just have to keep that so I can reference it back at some time. Maybe it's a really cool way you saw how to do CMAs and you just write down who did it, where it was, or drop the link in there, whatever something like that might be. And the last one is archives. Anything you want to keep for moving forward and it's not really that important right now. In the future, you may just scroll through them and be like, oh, that was good, I'm going to pull that out and take it to another one. But archives, just throw it in there for now and maybe you'll get back to it later. So what is the point in having all of these different notes? Well, here's what we're going to do. Throughout the day, you're going to just put down all your ideas, all your thoughts, all your inputs that come into your head that you're like, I need to put this down, get it into your Quick Capture. Now, at the end of each day, or you could do this at the end of the week, it doesn't really matter, whatever your system is going to be, you're going to take all of those things that you put into Quick Capture, you're going to take them and paste them into the relevant different notes. Now what's happened? Instead of you just having a thought, maybe even if you can remember the thought, you're just kind of working through it in your own mind. Now what's happened is you've taken the thought down, you've processed it and put it into an actual category like, oh, okay, now when I'm going to look at tasks to do, it's in these tasks. Or now when it's in resources, I can jump in and pull this out, or projects, or whatever that may look like. So now what's happened to that random thought is that it's gone into like a conveyor belt where your brain has not had to do all the work, but your system has put it into places. Now you're never going to forget a task, you're never going to forget a project, a big idea, or something awesome that you had. Now, when I talk to people about this in person, everyone's like, okay, well, what do you put down? And there isn't really a good answer for that, okay? Because what I might take down is maybe very, very different than what you did. It's all about what things connect with you, what hits that spark. What's the things that you're like, oh man, and then you get that rush of dopamine when you hear something. It could be a quote, it could be an idea you have, it could be a conversation with your spouse, and you're like, oh, actually, that's a good idea. It could be something that you've done that you want to correct in the future, okay? So something that your wife's like, hey, I wasn't really happy that you did that, or whatever it is. Put it down, keep it for the future reference so you can read it back at a later time and keep on learning. The whole goal of this, guys, is to get everything out of here and put it down into a system. That's why it's called the second brain. So this brain right here is only focusing on being creative. That's all its job is. It's just to go, to make things happen. Whereas your second brain is now got all the information in there and keeps it in a systemized set of notes and folders. So now you have the benefit of both worlds. Instead of keeping everything up here and worrying about forgetting things or hope I remember that, or man, whatever, you don't have to worry about it because it's in there. And once you start to build this out, guys, it becomes really astonishing what you actually find in there. Because sometimes I'll be going through my archives or I'll be going through something else and I'll be like, oh, I totally forgot about that. This was a great idea. This is going to be awesome for Q2 to implement it then. And that's why this is so powerful, because things that maybe you're like, okay, I'll get back to that at some point, you're never going to remember that. And if you don't have a system, you just put it down in a note somewhere, you're never going to remember it either, because you won't be able to search for it, because you won't be able to remember what it is. But if it's in my resource notes and I'm skimming through them, oh, there we go. That's right, I forgot about that. This is awesome. And your brain is triggered and then is able to move on with that task. So I can't recommend this book highly enough, guys. Building a Second Brain. I would really recommend that you check it out, especially if you're like me. If you're more creative, if you're a bit of a space cadet when it comes to things, if you forget things quite a lot, I'm telling you, this is a game changer, especially for your business. You will never forget anything again. So just think about the conversations that you've either had today or yesterday. Think about it. The amount of conversations and input you had. Did you scroll Instagram and you found like a couple real estate posts or whatever that you were inspired by? Okay, can you remember them right now? Did you have conversations with people yesterday? Brokers, other agents, clients? Can you remember all those conversations and the little things that you talked about? You know, this is the point of this. We have so many inputs. Take all the little nuggets from each conversation, put down the important things that you need to come back to, and then they will always be there in a digital form that's searchable. You can tag it, you can go crazy with this stuff. I have actually started to use a note called Obsidian, and it tags everything and puts it in a structured different way. But if you're just starting out, start simple and go from there until you get the hang of this. But I'm telling you guys, challenge yourself. Do it for a week and you will be surprised how many notes that you put down and how many you forget by the time you read them back. So challenge yourself for a week. Make all these 7 notes. Use a quick capture for everything and anything that you need to, and then go through it and pull it out. And I would love to hear in the comments what you think of this, because it has truly changed the way I do things. It's changed the way I think. It's changed the way I operate with my brain, because I'm not trying to remember everything anymore. I can be more focused and present on what I'm doing right here and now. And that's how I do the focused work needed to build my business. So there you go, guys. Bit of a long one today, but super important. You should check it out. Second Brain. If you have any questions, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear about it. If you're doing this, I would love to hear about it and connect as well. So drop a comment. If you like this kind of stuff, subscribe to the channel. That would be awesome too. And I will see you on the next one. Build that second brain.